Hey squad, welcome back. Now today's video is specifically geared towards those of you guys who are either new to music production, or you might have been involved in production for a while, but you're maybe a beat maker or a musician, but you don't have that much experience in sound engineering, mixing, and in particular, mixing vocals. Now the Waves CLA vocal plugin could be just the right thing for you. As you guys know, I'm a big advocate for simplicity and great results, and this unit definitely does not disappoint one bit. In fact, besides the ease of use and the flexibility and the great results, sometimes you can pick this up in a flash sale for as little as $29.99. Now there's no referral link here. I'm not trying to promote you going and spending your money. I'm just telling you how cheap this thing is, but at the same time, the great results you can achieve by using it. But I hope you do get some value out of this video. And remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. It's always great hearing from you. But it's that time, so let's get into it. Okay, so right here we've got our Waves CLA Vocals unit. This plugin is great. The thing I love about it is its simplicity. Look at this. All you've got is 8 faders or sliders and 6 buttons. That's pretty much it. Down here, of course, you've got a left and right pan switch, but you know, that's pretty self-explanatory. You've got a couple of LED meters here and an input signal indicator. So let's just play back a second. So this right here is monitoring your input signal, and of course you want it to be a nice healthy green. Maybe if it peaks and it goes slightly into the yellow, but definitely not into the red. As well, on the output section, you don't want it to be clipping into the red, so you can use this slider right here or fader to pull back. If you find that things are peaking slightly, you can always pull things back using this slider. And if the input signal is too strong, you use this input signal slider right here. So we've just got a little bit of clipping here, so I'm going to pull back. Let's see. Let's pull that back a little bit. All right, how about here? Yep. That's cool. What I'll do in a second is I'll go through all of the different sliders and what they do. I mean, they're very, very self-explanatory. Bass, treble, compress, reverb, delay, pitch, you know. Up here we've got some more labeling, but we'll go through all of that in a second. So the first thing we'll do is play back the dry vocal as it is, and then we'll use this unit to quickly transform it into something that can definitely be used as a main vocal mix in your production.
When we were 15, all night. When we were 15, I remember the car rides, small fights, conversations all night.
Okay, so there you have a gist of what the vocal sounds like, both within the overall mix and in isolation. And it's very dry. The performance is pretty steady. There are a few areas where it peaks a little bit, but it is pretty steady all the way through. Okay, so let's dive into this unit and figure out what all of these faders are for. So like I said before, the first slider or fader is for your input signal. And you can use this to adjust the strength of the signal coming into this unit. Keep an eye on the meters and make sure it doesn't clip into the red. You want a nice healthy signal at the top of the green section, maybe just having the yellow section flashing every now and then. That will be a nice healthy input signal. Now I will deal with these first 2 faders and sliders together. We've got bass and we've got treble. Now for those of you who aren't clear on what bass and treble is, now bass is to do with the low frequencies or the boomy tones and main body of an audio signal, and treble is to do with the higher frequencies, the more crisp, bright, upper frequencies in an audio signal. A good representation of this would be on a traditional stereo or hi-fi or car system where you've got bass and treble. If you want to feel more of the oomph in your body, then you will boost the bass. If you want to hear more clarity on your stereo, you will boost the treble. And if you feel there's too much bass, of course, you'll reduce the bass. And the same with the treble. And you can do exactly the same thing here with these 2 sliders. If you want more bass, more body in your vocal, you will boost with this one. And if you want more high end, more crispness, more brightness, you will boost with this one. Or you will cut if you feel as though there is too much brightness in the vocal. And if there's too much bass in the vocal as well, same thing applies. Now on the bass fader, we can use this yellow switch right here to switch between each of these options. So we've got sub, we've got lower, and we've got upper. And one more hit of the switch switches this function off or disables it, okay? By default, the very bottom option is illuminated or selected. If you click 3 times, you'll then disable this particular fader. So 1, 2, 3, and now that's disabled, okay? Let's put those back on. So let's deal with sub first. Now, if we look at this EQ, the bass in your vocal will exist down in this sort of zone, okay? This section will be the low mid section, the high mid section, and then the highs or treble up here. If I wanted to boost the sub, which would be more down this zone, this is what will happen. Let's play back the vocal. We'll switch everything else off. So we'll build this up in stages.
When we were 15, I remember the car rides, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything.
So this vocal has already had all of the really low frequencies removed prior to it being used in this project. So it's probably not the best example, but if you've had a vocal recording that you haven't cleaned up yet and removed all of the sub, you'll find that the spectrum analyzer will show you a boost in frequencies down here in this section. And to be honest, a lot of that will be room noise and is quite useless to you. Most engineers will filter low frequencies below 80 Hertz or so on a vocal because much of it is going to be useless. So boosting the sub on a vocal is probably not something you're likely to do. Anyway, if we were to go to lower, we'll be dealing with sort of this section now. And let's play back and let's see what happens when we do that.
When we were 15, I remember the car rides, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you. Okay, so there's a distinct difference there where we're feeling more presence of the body of the vocal by boosting here, and you could see a little bit of a boost down here. I'm just going to the extreme where I'm adding bass to this vocal, which I wouldn't really do in a mix because, to be honest with you, I would want to probably pull back a bit to reduce muddiness in the vocal. So, but for demonstration purposes, this is what the slider actually does. Now let's go to upper. Now upper will be further up in the frequency range. Let's play back and adjust there. When we were 15, I remember the car rides, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but...
Once again, there's a distinct change in the tone of the vocal. I personally wouldn't add this amount of bass boost to this vocal because it's actually adding mud to the sort of lower mid frequencies around here and reducing the level of clarity. Let's assume this vocal had just been recorded in my room. I would very likely use the bass slider and pull back on the lower to reduce the lower frequencies right here and create a bit more clarity and less mud in the vocal. Okay, so for the treble control, let's switch that one on and we start off with bite. We'll play back the vocal and we'll increase the fader level and listen to what this does in terms of the increase in treble on the bite selection.
When we were 15, I remember the car rides, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but now Okay, so we are getting some boost in this zone right here. It's definitely adding clarity. Of course, I'm not likely to boost it all the way to the top if I'm using this control on this particular vocal. Let's see what we get with top. Now, top would be probably around this sort of zone. When we were 15, I remember the car ride, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but...
Now, again, the treble is being boosted all the way from down here, all the way along to the top. Incidentally, both of these controls will be considered shelf EQ controls. Let's try roof, which would be the ultra high end if you wanted to add some sort of air to your vocal.
When we were 15, I remember the car ride, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend.
Okay, so you can hear the distinct difference between all three. Once again, you don't really want to be boosting these all the way to the top, just giving it enough to bring out the clarity where needed, but not overdoing it. And as you can see right here, we're clipping as well when we boost these all the way to the top. So you'd want to be keeping an eye on the output meter. Remember as well that you may well need to use a de-esser to tame some of the harsh S's and T's that might result in you using the treble boost control right here. And I did a video recently on de-essers, and that will show you how you can actually make good use of the de-essers to reduce sibilance. Okay, so for the compress fader, once again, you've got three options: push, spank, and wall. And here's a compressor right here, and it's got quite a few different controls on it. But this unit, all you've got to do is select an option and either boost or cut on the slider, and you'll get a result. So in terms of the intensity or amount of compression being applied, the higher up you go, the more compression is being applied. And at the top here, the wall option would represent a brick wall or limiter. So let's play back the vocal and quickly go through the three options and hear the results.
When we were 15, I remember the car ride, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but now I see you in a new light. We're getting older. There's a sparkle in your eyes that wasn't.
Okay, so I'm using extreme settings right here, but you could actually hear the amount of compression was changing as I flicked through the different switches. Again, push might be a good option here for you, but use your ears. If you find you need a bit more squash on the vocal, go to spank and play with the slider. But use your ears and figure out which option actually gives you the best results right here. Now, the reverb control is very self-explanatory, and most DAWs will come with pretty decent reverb units built in, but you can opt to use just the controls within this unit for your vocals. Now, the three options you've got here are tight, large, and chamber. Tight would represent a small space or small room. Large might be a large room or a hall, and chamber would be a huge space like an auditorium, a stadium, or something like that. And of course, the amount of reverb you apply will be controlled by the fader or slider. So let's just quickly go through this as well, starting with tight.
When we were 15, I remember the car ride, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but now I see you in a new light. We're getting older. There's a sparkle in your eyes that wasn't there before.
Okay, so you can hear the change in reverb size, length, and intensity as we flip through the different switches and we increase the slider. So on this particular control, when the slider is down here, there's no reverb, but as soon as you start increasing, the reverb effect is applied. And just like any other control, reverb is something that can definitely mess up your mix if you overdo it. If you apply too much reverb to your vocals, it will definitely mess things up. So be very conservative with the application. Okay, so just like the reverb effect, the slider for the delay effect starts from right down at the bottom here. We've got three options. We've got slap, we've got eighth, and we've got quarter. Now, slap represents a classic slap delay, which is sort of a doubling of the vocal. Eighth, of course, is an eighth note delay, and quarter is a quarter note delay. So all you need to do is select which type of delay you want to use and increase the slider to give you the volume of the delayed signal. So let's try that out.
When we were 15, I remember the car rides, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but now I see you in a new light. We're getting older. There's a sparkle in your eyes that wasn't there before. You give me butterflies, it makes me wonder if there could be something more.
Really simple to use. Figure out which effect works best for your vocal and adjust with the slider. Now, another very important factor you need to take into account, particularly with the delay, is that the timing of the delay is synchronized to the tempo of your project. So make sure if you're going to be using this tool that the tempo setting of the DAW is actually synchronized to the timing of the music. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay, so the final control we're going to look at is the pitch control. And although it's titled pitch, it's actually a modulation control similar to a chorus and can be even used as a stereo imager or spreader, similar to the fantastic spreader plugin that's built into Logic. So what we're going to do is we're going to kick things off with stereo, and we'll increase the fader as we've done before and just flip through the different options and check out the different sound.
When we were 15, I remember the car rides, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but now I see you in a new light. We're getting older. There's a
Now, these are very usable options and can be applied in different circumstances depending on the sort of sound you're going for. You don't need to be pushing it all the way to the top here on your vocal channel. Just give it enough where needed and you'll achieve some nice stereo width on the vocal that you're treating. Now, I've left the very best thing till last, and that is the fantastic range of presets that come with this plugin suite. You've got very clearly titled presets for lead vocals as well as for backgrounds. And my suggestion to you is select one and just work your way through the different presets until you achieve the sound that works for you on the vocal that you're mixing. Once you've gotten close to the sound you want, you can then go in and tweak based on the information I've just given you. You've got an idea now of what all of these things do, and you can increase or decrease intensity or change setting based on the results you're looking for. It's as simple as that. Believe me, this plugin is really good at getting you a really nice sounding vocal in a very quick time by simply going through the presets. So let's try that out. I'm going to go to full reset and then we'll just work our way through.
When we were 15, I remember the car rides, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but now I see you in a new light. We're getting older. There's a sparkle in your eyes that wasn't there before. You give me butterflies, it makes me wonder if there could.
Okay, I think for now I'm going to go with face to face. Let's run with that.
When we were 15, I remember the car rides, small fights, conversations all night. I never saw you as anything more than a friend, but now I see you in a new light. We're getting older. There's a sparkle in your eyes that wasn't there.
I'm sure you'd be able to come up with some really sweet vocal mixes by using this really simple but very effective and powerful tool. Anyway, until next time, peace.